Whenever you've determined what your culture should be and you're trying to roll that out, how do you, as you know, change is hard. So, how do you get buy in from your employees or from your team members?
See, that's one of the key reasons why I'm going so strongly for culture is that it's not like you're getting buy-in the other way. The other way you do is you declare some statements and then you basically just manage, in a sense, by coercion and fear. I know it's
Hmm.
strong terms and people wouldn't really want to use that specifically, but it is, if you don't have a complete buy-in, if you have to check on people with employee manuals and God knows what to see what they do at every turn, you basically, if you put a cop on every corner to make sure that your employees behave according to the values of the company, then you have a problem. It's much better to actually attract people and have the team embody your culture to the point that they want to do what you're trying to achieve, and then it becomes their desire, and you won't need any cops. You would need people to dissuade them from what they're doing, because what they're doing becomes truly their north. Their true north is what the company does. This is, of course, super powerful and much more frequent in startup companies, because that's
Hmm.
where you have a small group and they find their common north and they pursue that. But this is also possible in very large companies where you really drill down to these distinct values for the company that create a competitive advantage for the company.
Do you have any specific tips on the tactical how? Let's say you are the new CEO and you are making change.
So, what I would do if I were CEO and make change is to start with the people, like with the employees, to start to go out there and say, who are we, and what do you like about this place, and what do you think we have challenges in, and really start
Hmm.
to be completely transparent and honest, and say, what makes you proud to be here, and what do you see where you're saying, and that does not make me proud, and include the customers and everybody in the suppliers, everybody who's involved, and try to take the synthesis of this. And then, as a team, that can. I always would like this to start from the bottom up, but you'd have to have the leadership from the top to empower sort of the field to do this. To start to identify the parts of our company where we're proud of and where we think we can build on. It's like in positive psychology: do more of what you're doing really well, and
Right.
here we're doing more of the values we already embody. And then maybe dream a bit and say, what are some of the things? And maybe you start with the customers, even the investors with this. What would, for us to be the best at who we are, what human trait would we need to do that? What would produce that? And then
Hmm.
start to see what kinds of values you can identify. you know, there's a famous example of a childcare company that did this after the fact, and they came up with reliability. That they say, well, reliability, trust is something that, as a childcare center, is the number one thing that would actually make us flourish. And so they would
Right.
go back and say, okay, we're the reliable people, we're the trusted people. How can we turn that into our culture? And the first thing is, actually, we have to start to therefore trust each other. How do we trust each other?
Hmm.
Only through transparency, and by changing over from a review process to a flourishing process. So instead of me
Right.
reviewing you and you never, I'm coming here to judge you and everything, it's not a trusted environment. But if
Right.
we
Right.
shift this around and say, today, instead of an annual review, we do a flourishing review to say,
Hmm.
what's your plan in life? What's your goal? And how are you achieving this? And how can the company help you become better at what you're doing, and become happier, in a sense? There's a whole
Yeah.
game changer, in
Right.
how you're doing this. And I think these kinds of this is not world moving stuff, but this is stuff that matters to the individual, to say, I'm being taken for full here. This company has my good in mind. And
Hmm.
then I buy in. I allow myself to buy into the vision for this company. And what you're getting in return for these kinds of efforts is engagement. See, we have this, we talked
Yeah.
about this other times, this huge pandemic or endemic disengagement at work. And
Yeah.
when people feel that their flourishing is at the center of what the company is trying to achieve, then you get engagement. And when you have
Yeah.
engaged employees, again, it becomes a culture that almost evolves itself, or propagates itself, and you don't need a cop at every corner to control what people do, because you're actually enabling them to be themselves. And that's when the sum, of the parts of your company become more than the parts, where you
Wow.
basically flourish and teams become so effective, that they, you know literally become miraculous in how they perform.